Okay. Simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. Book knowledge is theoretical, whereas the archana process is practical. Spiritual knowledge must be developed by a combination of theoretical and practical knowledge. And that is the guaranteed way for attainment of spiritual perfection. The training of devotional service for a neophyte devotee completely depends on the expert spiritual master who knows how to lead his disciple to make gradual progress towards the path back home, back to Godhead. One should not become a pseudo-spiritual master as a matter of business to meet one's family expenditures. One must be an expert spiritual master to deliver the disciple from the clutches of impending death. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has defined the bona fide qualities of a spiritual master, and one of the verses in that description reads, Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana, Shigara Tan Mandira Marjanado, Yuktasya Bhaktams Cha Niyunjatopi, Vande Guroshri Charanara Vindam. Shri Vigraha is the archa, or suitable, worshipable form of the Lord. And the disciple should be engaged in worshipping the deity regularly by shringar, proper decoration and dressing, as also by mandira marjana, the matter of cleansing the temple. The spiritual master teaches the neophyte devotee all these kindly and personally to help him gradually in the realization of the transcendental name, quality, form, etc. of the Lord. Only attention engaged in the service of the Lord, especially in dressing and decorating the temple, accompanied by musical kirtan and spiritual instructions from scriptures, can save the common man from the hellish cinema attractions and rubbish sex songs broadcast everywhere by radios. If one is unable to maintain a temple at home, he should go to another's temple where all the above performances are regularly executed. Visiting the temple of a devotee and looking at the profusely decorated forms of the Lord, well dressed in a well decorated, sanctified temple, naturally infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. So then the subject changes a little, but there are some thoughts on deity worship, particularly for householders. Let me just read the translation again of the verse. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. Я надеюсь, что вы понимаете по-английски. Yeah? Everyone?
Кому-то нужен перевод на русский язык? Поднимите руку.
Перевод нужен? Вот один, вот два. Tree.
Please repeat which verse?
Which verse? Second canto,
Yes.
chapter 3, verse 22. Tree, doigt. Очень сильный стих. Silmi commentary. Okay, so let us say a few words. Nash manager, Nisidesa. I don't know how much time we have. Or is he hiding back? No, he's not. Okay, anyway, let's say a few words. I'll say a few words. Then I'll ask Nanda Vagna Maharaj, perhaps. If you'd like to say a few words, you could if you'd like. If not, it's okay. But anyway, the thing is, this verse, and particularly this purport, is specifically, you could say, aimed, disit chisa, chisol. Okay. Okay. Aha. 10 minutes. Right. This verse is particularly what? For the householders. As we read, Prabhupada was saying, just, focusing like that, to help the householders, that basically every household, every family should have deities at home. Of course, if you're close to a temple, then you can just sort of adopt the temple deities like they're your deities. So it's not just absolutely necessary if you're living close to a temple and can attend regularly. But one way or the other, householders should be engaged in deity worship. When they're ready, means what Prabhupada said must be at least 12 years old. Anyway, so, and then, must be seriously able to practice, like maintain the minimum number of rounds, regulative principles like that. Because the thing is that household life, just by its nature, is just so unavoidable. It involves a certain amount, at least, of bodily consciousness. In that, unless the husband has some idea that he's a man, and the wife has some idea she's a woman, if they just don't think in those terms at all, well, they're transcendental. That's just another thing altogether. But otherwise, that tendency is there, particularly where children are involved. Children, of course they can grow up, and all efforts should be made for them to grow up, to be devotees, but particularly initially, for children to grasp something spiritual is frankly not possible. I mean, that's at least as far as I can see. They're just there, the intelligence is not ready yet. Of course, but they can be attracted by deities, by toys, like Krishna conscious toys. But the point that Prabhupada was making is that in a good devotee family, like serious devotee family, there should be a serious deity worship program that all the members of the family are engaged in regularly, at least those more than 12 years old. And it begins, Prabhupada said, 4 in the morning, finishes 10 at night. It means it's the same as in a regular sort of full-scale temple. And engage in all the different activities. Prabhupada listed out so many devotional activities which are standard activities in deity worship in a full temple. But actually the home temple should be organized in the same way. Yes, in other words, not just place to live. Well, certainly not just a place to live, but, Prabhupada, did you notice Prabhupada mentioned right at the end of what we read that the devotees should really avoid, Prabhupada said, the hellish cinema attractions. Thank you very much. Yes, just watch out for that. Yeah, the hellish movies. And that's really a fact. And the rubbish sex songs, which is pretty much whatever. I'm not up with what they sing these days, but boy meets girl, girl meets boy, etc., etc. This is all standard in popular music. So to avoid that, the family members should be engaged nicely, like in a full program of deity worship, to avoid as much as possible getting caught up on the bodily level and just really distracted. Yes, so this is something very important. Actually, it's very important for all devotees, not just householders. But Prabhupada was particularly focusing on householders here. And then the household will be transformed. The atmosphere in the house, in the home, will be transformed. And the natures, the states of consciousness and just the general natures of the household members will also be transformed. And we know in the case of Srila Prabhupada, he really wanted that for his family. If you've read Leela Rita, or if you're familiar with these things, he got married it was an arranged marriage to a girl from a respectable Gaudiya Vaishnava family, but unfortunately her heart was not into it. But Prabhupada really wanted that the family, particularly him and his wife, would come together as devotees and help spread the Krishna consciousness movement to other families. But, as we are aware pretty much, his wife was just not interested. And that was that for Prabhupada's sort of ambition in that sense, to the point that later on, he just left it all. He just abandoned the household situation, became a vanaprastha, and shortly afterwards became a sannyasi. So anyway, all of you here, devotees who are householders, who actually have a house or some stable place of residence and stable family situation, at least you and your husband or wife, and where their children, the children, it's just such an important duty and valuable duty and helpful duty to really make the family situation focused on deity worship. So the children are educated to understand what is the deity, who is the deity, how to interact with the deity like this. And then the children grow up to become, you could say, more or less like Prahlad Maharaj, or other great devotees like Uddhava is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. He was brought up in such a family environment. And Jiva Goswami, the same thing is there. their descriptions in Bhakti Ratnakara, for example, of how he was as a child. You know, of course, these people, it's carried over from the previous lifetime. It's not just like, you know, somehow they got into it in this life. But one way or the other, even if for the children, you know, they struggle to come to grips and really be clear what is the deity and what is Krishna consciousness. But by having a program like this, it will help them. And basically, it's the only way to get them into it. You know, in those very early days, like preschool days. Yeah, otherwise, they'll just become, you know, computer game freaks and etc., etc. All this sort of thing. You can just guarantee. In fact, of course, we don't gamble, but I would bet you that if you don't bring them up like that, that's gonna happen to them. They'll have a focus on mundane entertainment in different forms. And frankly, we see it. You know, we see these things going on. The good families where every effort is made nicely to educate the children and get them to understand and get them into deity worship at home. Those children become very special children. And others are sort of left to their own devices. Well, as we say, udache vam. Good luck, because you'll need lots of it. And actually, good luck will not be enough. Yes, so this is what Prabhupada wanted. And this is why Prabhupada had Gurukul, because at home before the educational stage of the children, then the program goes on as described, but then when the educational stage starts, then ideally, or not just, well, you could say ideally, but actually it just should be done. The householders should figure out themselves how to have a Gurukul system. Don't go running to, we'll sing about it, Prabhu's not here, but don't go running to the sannyas. He said, can you start a Gurukul? Householders should start a Gurukul. And, you know, on whatever scale they can. And even if you have to employ non-devotee teachers, but who are at least sensitive to our standards, it'll be so good for the children, rather than sending them to the schools. Prabhupada, at least universities, Prabhupada called slaughterhouses. And I mean, mundane schools are effectively the same. I know in our schools in South Africa, you know, girls are getting pregnant at like 10 years of age. And so much marijuana, and not just marijuana, but, you know, methamphetamines, these heroin and all these things. The little children, 10 years old. Good Lord. And sometimes our devotees have to go to those schools. So, Maharaj, would you like to say something, or as you like?
On Russian or English?
No, let's go. Okay. Would you like to?
Божества, как Махарадж сказал, могут стать хорошим поводом для того, чтобы вести свою духовную жизнь в какие-то стандарты более высокие.
I can follow pretty much basically some kind of.
И не только это, Шиларупа Госвами, Бхакти Расамрита Синду, то есть 5 могущественных практик, самых могущественных практик преданного служения, 64. И поклонение божествам, он пишет, может стать такой практикой, если оно сделано так, там слово стоит тоже. Смотрите, с любовью. То есть если служишь божествам с любовью, это может стать могущественной практикой. То есть, в принципе, несколько дней достигнешь настоящей прийти. И при этом божества могут и должны позволить нам все остальные 4 могущественные практики тоже в нашу жизнь привести. Потому что ачарьи говорят, Бхагават говорит, без воспевания святого имени никакая практика не работает нормально. Поэтому поклонение божествам самое лучшее, когда ты что-то делаешь за них и поешь. То есть им нравится, когда воспевают их имена с любовью. То есть нама санкиртана будет. Также можно приглашать домой к себе в храм преданных, и это будет садханга, и служить преданным, готовить, намахату делать. То есть очень практично все. То есть мы уже покрыли. Поклонение божествам можно сделать так, чтобы оно сопровождалось нам санкиртаной, должно быть так. Нам санкиртаной, значит, должны быть преданные, и служишь, готовишь что-то. Также, что это чтение Шримад Бхагаватам и хорошие примеры среди грехас, когда они утром поднимают божества, и даже если они уходят на работу в 7 утра, все равно не успевают один стих Шримад Бхагаватам с комментарием Шрилы Прабхупады прочитать для божества. То есть сесть, жена сесть и прочитать Шримад Бхагаватам. Это хороший, хотя бы минимум стандарт, но уже вот Шримад Бхагаватам. Хорошо бы, чтобы больше читать, если работают. И если превратить комнату божеств или дом в святое место, то есть помимо божеств, сами божества не сделают. Эта атмосфера должна быть создана, и нам сейчас все это позволяет. Туласи, картины, напоминающие о Вриндаване или Навадипе, соответственно, и сделать святым местом. И получается, все 5 могущественных практик будут доступны. Нужно будет только с прити это сделать, и достигнуть успеха. Чего я вам желаю, преданным, которые здесь хотят начать поклонение, чтобы это было скрытие, и все остальные акты преданного служения тоже присутствуют.
Пожалуйста. Русские? Продолжим.
В Бхагаватам есть текст, известный текст. Господь Капила говорит, что если кто-то поклоняется божествам, он не понимает, что он поклоняется Господу, который вокруг его всепроникающий Господь, то это просто шоу. Господь окружает нас в каждом атоме, между атомами, он справа и слева. И мы не можем выразить ему свою любовь, потому что он справа и слева. Куда мы будем его кормить, куда мы будем его обращаться. И для того, чтобы выразить свое почтение, свою любовь, которую говорила к Кришне, мы ставим божества и говорим: смотри, как мы тебя любим. Любим, убиваем. И таким образом мы показываем Господу, который вокруг нас, что как мы его любим и служим. И когда мы так действуем, то вокруг нас майи нет, Кришна проявится со всех сторон, справа, слева, сверху и снизу, внутри нас. И это уже очень важно, такой, не забывайте об этом. Стихи, который сказал Капила.
So now we going to, well, the boga has been offered, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, now we'll offer the first arati, right? Yeah. But now it will be, okay, and name, right. Okay. You know, these deities, these deities are the home deities of Mangala Govinda Prabhu on, no. Oh, what? Mataji Kamala Sundari. Okay, хорошо. Okay, поэтому, I'll speak English. Therefore, you know, I thought of a name which is unusual. In fact, well, I don't know for sure, but I would think this would be the only set of Gauratai deities that have this name in the universe, or at least on this planet. But I wanted to run it by Ananda Bhadna Maharaj, you know, this experienced devotee, to see if he feels it's a bit too, you know, liberal, kind of, sort of overly liberal. Okay, well, he's approved. So we'll give the name now, right? Prem Sichas.
Yes.
Okay, brace yourselves, fasten your seatbelts. So I thought, anyway, if Maharaj feels it's improper, I have another name in mind too, which is a very nice name. But it's more sort of, you know, easier to deal with, you could say. More sort of little standard, it's a little unusual. So I thought of calling these deities Shri Mangala Nitai Karuna Nimai. But seriously, Maharaj, what do you think? Is it okay?
Very nice. I was thinking about it. Because you told Mangala.
Yes.
His name, and I just came in mind.
And Karuna. Yeah, it means Lord Nityananda, who is just all auspicious, and Lord Chaitanya, who is just an ocean of mercy. How could it be wrong? Shri Mangala Nitai Karuna Nimai. And then when you sing it, it can go Jai Mangala Nitai Karuna Nimai. It works. Okay. Anyway, but it came to me and I thought, wow, that's actually very nice, very appropriate. Well, that's kind of Ochaniya Vaishnava. Yes. Okay, so we will now offer arati for the first time to Sri Mangala Nitai Karuna Nimai. Hari Bol.